Happening now, a state of emergency is in effect in western New York as the first major winter storm of the season makes its mark. And we have the latest on a massive fire in Jamestown,
We're going to obviously have to start pulling some of the building apart in order to be able to fully extinguish it.
as demolition and investigation into its cause continues. Plus, we hear from those at New York State's Capitol rallying for sentencing reform. What this means for us here in Jamestown.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen. Those stories are coming up, but first, a state of emergency is in effect for western New York as a major lake-effect snowstorm impacts the region. New York Governor Kathy Hochul hosted a storm briefing in the Buffalo area on Thursday morning. Hochul warns of hazardous travel conditions and local power outages as a result of the storm. She urges New Yorkers to stay alert and avoid unnecessary travel through Friday.
This is when you fill up the gas tank. Put cat litter in your trunk if you get stuck. We've used that myself. Get the batteries, make sure there's blankets and anything in your vehicle. If you do need to travel, if you're an essential worker, you know how to do this, be smart, but be ready for the worst.
There will be a total of 60 staff, including 50 plow truck operators, 6 equipment operator instructors, and 4 fleet mechanics from other regions deployed to our region to help with the cleanup. Now let's get our chief weather forecaster, Dakota Hunter. How's it going over there, Dakota? You joining us with the latest on where the snow is falling and how much more snow we are expected to see.
That's right, Bronson. Well, so far, I wanted to start with the snow totals that we have so far. This is what we got in from the National Weather Service so far this morning. Little Valley, 9 inches just from last night through this morning. Gary at 8.2, Casadega, 8 inches, 7.5 in Kennedy. Here in town, close to 7 inches and 5 inches in Falconer. But we've still got some more snow on the way. So once again, this lake effect snow warning for the southern tier will continue until 10 o'clock tonight. And that is for as the lake effect snow continues, we're still going to see accumulation out of this. So not only are we going to see accumulation, but also travel is going to continue to be an issue as we go through the day. There's First Defense Doppler showing you where the snow is. Notice how there's 2 separate bands to the lake effect snow. That is a good indication that wind shear is tearing into the lake effect snow, starting to separate the bands a little bit. So we now have 2 separate bands, one from Dunkirk stretching to Franklinville and another coming from near Mayville stretching to just south of Olean. And these are going to continue through the day today. So in terms of the impacts, the snowfall is still at really the top of the scale, but travel now is going to become an issue, especially if you are planning to go to Buffalo. That is going to become a big problem, if not totally impossible, because there's going to be a lot more snow up there than what we're going to be dealing with here. But for today, occasional lake effect snow showers will continue, heavy at times, an additional 2 to 5 inches in spots, and that southwest wind, 15 to 20 with some wind gusts around 30 miles an hour. But we've still got some more snow on the way. A historic lake effect snowstorm could be on the way for Buffalo. We'll talk about it with the Ultimate Satellite Solutions 7-Day a little bit later on in the show. Bronson, back to you.
All right, thank you much, Dakota. We'll check back with you later with more on all the snowfall that we are getting. A major aspect of today's storm is how crews are staying on top of the falling snow to keep roads clear. Our Alyssa Wright joins us live from Chautauqua County's Department of Public Facilities Garage in Faulkner with an update from officials on how the process is going. Alyssa?
Thank you, Bronson. I'm here with Tim Card, and I know we were talking a little bit before the show just started, but could you tell everyone what time everyone starts to get up to start plowing roads?
Our plow drivers usually start at 3:30 in the morning, and they're still obviously going out today. They'll be out till this afternoon, and then our second shift will come in at 3 this afternoon, and to give us 24-hour coverage in a storm like this.
Now, this is our first major snowfall of this year. Is there anything that your drivers do differently?
No, we're always, safety is number one concern above everything, and it's just nice to get out and make sure all the trucks are working properly, and there's adjustments that need to be made. I guess what I recommend is just give the plow drivers their respect and give them their room and their space, because they're out there to do a job and make things safe for the public.
Absolutely, and I think, that's especially, I'm watching all the cars go by right now. Some of them are not abiding by the speed limit, unfortunately, but I think that's a really big part. You see all this salt on the ground. How dangerous is it driving through conditions like this?
Well, I guess it is dangerous, and I guess what I recommend is just slow down and take your time. Don't be in a hurry. I'd rather see you be there 10 minutes late than 3 hours late. You know what I'm saying? Just take your time, be cautious, and just slow down and be aware of the situation.
Now, is there any way that the public can report dangerous conditions?
The first thing I would say would be to call 911, call the sheriff's department if there's something really emergency, then they can dispatch us. We do have a dispatch number here of 716-661-8401 to our dispatch hotline if you need a road emergency. But first of all, I would say just call the sheriff's department.
Now, do you have any tips for drivers that might be stuck in a dangerous situation?
I would, again, be prepared now. Have things in your vehicle to be prepared if something should happen. But my first thing would be to call 911 if you're in an accident.
Absolutely. Is there anything else about your drivers that you'd like to add?
Just like I said, give them the respect that they need to do their job. We do have a lot of younger plow drivers, and we're getting them trained properly. But just, again, don't follow the plows too close and just respect their space.
How many plows is it that you have going through Falconer?
We have 10 trucks that go out of Falconer, 8 out of Sherman. I think there's 8 or 9 that go out of the Sheridan at one time on each shift.
And I know you mentioned they'll be here until about 3 p.m.
Yeah, our first shift, like I said, starts at 3:30 in the morning. Their normal shift is till noon, but they'll probably stay today. And then our second shift comes in at 3 in the afternoon, and then they'll work until midnight.
So definitely be on the lookout for those plows and give them the respect that they need to make the road safer for you drivers out there.
All right, Alyssa, thank you. Stay warm out there. It's looked pretty chilly over there for you. Well, the snow snarled in the community of some of our rural parts of our region today. In fact, our own Justin Gould was not able to make it into work today after he was involved in a minor traffic collision because of the snow. Justin is trying to join us live right now. He seems to have disconnected at this point, but we will catch up with him later on what he has experienced in the rural parts of the community. And now, as WNY News Now continues, we have more on yesterday's massive fire in Jamestown as an investigation and cleanup effort continues. And later, the latest effort in New York for rallying for sentencing reforms. Stay with us, as WNY News Now will be right back.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you. Looking for a fair and honest auto mechanic? Look no further than DeWyas Auto Service. Located at 140 Main Street in Randolph, our family-owned business is ready for all of your automotive needs. From general service to more complex repairs, count on DeWyas Auto to keep you on the road. We not only keep your cars running smoothly, but also looking great with our expert detailing crew. Send us a message on Facebook or call us today at 716-358-2292 to set up an appointment. DeWyas Auto Service. Fair, honest, and the best prices guaranteed.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98%
survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Following the massive fire at a former furniture factory in Jamestown on Wednesday, city officials are looking ahead to what will likely be an extensive cleanup process. Our Julia Gress with the latest.
Crews brought in heavy equipment to help demolish the former Crawford manufacturing complex after a massive fire broke out on Wednesday.
We're going to obviously have to start pulling some of the building apart in order to be able to fully extinguish it. There's a lot of debris. The debris field is large, as you can see. Certainly it's dangerous to try to go in there and walk around or move anything around by hand.
The location was deemed structurally unsafe and on the verge of a catastrophic collapse earlier this year by Jamestown's Department of Development. In fact, the agency's director, Crystal Surdick, took legal action against the owner in an attempt to address the issue.
It was an old furniture factory, so there were a few floors that still had wood, furniture parts, solvents, furniture refinishing materials, things that you would expect to see in a furniture factory. So, part of that effort, a year ago was to take an inventory of what materials there might be that could be hazardous.
Before the fire, the goal was to either rehab or demolish the building. Ironically, the owner was due in court this Friday. Many remember the building's prime, like Susan Galati Bishop, whose father was the plant manager at Crawford Manufacturing. She reminisces about the smell of the sawdust when she would visit her father.
He started out here as a young man after the Korean War in his early 20s. He started out just as a regular laborer here. He worked his way up, became a superintendent here. I just remember the stories of him learning from some of the old timers. The people that he made connections with here that taught him things.
Over the years, the building fell into disrepair. The discovery of asbestos slowed hope for any renovation. So far, no chemical hazards have posed a risk to public health and safety following the blaze. One way to prevent fires like this, according to officials, is to keep them occupied.
We've got some policies in the works that would decentivize property owners to just keep their properties vacant and not get tenants in them or occupy them themselves. That's a vacant property ordinance. Holding owners accountable for just sitting on property and not maintaining and letting them, willfully neglecting them.
Julia Gress, WNY News Now.
The push for speed cameras in school zones in the city of Jamestown has been halted. In April, Jamestown City Council voted to move forward with a project to install speed enforcement traffic cameras in school zones. Since lawmakers went forward with the decision, complications came up with the contractor tasked with implementing the system. As the city's attorney, Elliot Raimondo, tells us, the city is looking to move in a new direction.
Well, the city of Jamestown is still pursuing speed zone cameras. Obviously, there have been some safety concerns around the schools. The specific contractor that the city did approve the contract with last year was uncommunicative, so we chose to terminate that contract with that company.
So what's next for the school zone cameras? City leaders will work alongside state representatives and Assemblyman Andy Goodell and Senator George Borrello to pass state legislation aiding the installment of speed enforcement systems. Advocates gathered outside the state capitol Wednesday to urge lawmakers to pass a package of series of sentencing reform bills. New York Capitol correspondent Elise Klein hears from them about why they are pushing for these pieces of legislation.
Communities are cages! Communities are cages! Communities are cages!
Advocates pushing for sentencing reform gathered outside the Capitol today to call on lawmakers to pass 3 bills that were introduced in last year's legislative session: the Eliminate Mandatory Minimums Act, the Second Looked Act, and the Earned Time Act. And for many, these bills are personal. Michael Capers was incarcerated at the age of 16 and spent 12 years in prison. He says he tried to rewrite his history, but he wishes there would have been legislation like the Earned Time Act to help him.
People are going to be able to earn their way out of prison by educating themselves. And education is like the most formidable tool for rehabilitation.
Advocates emphasized today that these bills will help provide better rehabilitative services for incarcerated individuals and ultimately give them hope. Rally participant Gordon Davis was also incarcerated at the age of 16. He served 25 years in prison and is now 43 years old. Like Capers, he says he also wishes he would have had the advantage of bills like the Earned Time Act that essentially provides time allowances against an incarcerated person's term or their maximum term.
It would guarantee then that people will not only work harder, but they'll make sure that they stay out of trouble because they want this good time. They want to go home.
The other bills in the legislative package intend to eliminate mandatory minimum sentences and allow judges to review excessive sentences. In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
PA Governor-elect Josh Shapiro announced the latest efforts regarding the transition from a Wolf administration to a Shapiro administration. Both Shapiro and Lieutenant Governor-elect Austin Davis were joined by Governor Wolf as they discussed priorities for the Commonwealth for the next 4 years. Shapiro says that he is ready to get to work for Pennsylvania alongside Davis, who will be the African-American Lieutenant Governor. It is the first time since 1966 that an outgoing Pennsylvania governor will be replaced by a governor of the same party. Shapiro also commended Wolf for things like fiscal responsibility and is grateful for the position the state is in as he prepares to take office in about 2 months.
Look, Pennsylvanians, Republican, Democrat, Independent, came together in this election. And I know that they want to now continue to come together to move our Commonwealth forward. We're going to assemble a talented, hardworking, capable administration, one that looks like Pennsylvania, and one that is ready to go to work.
Additional staff and leadership positions for the transition and inauguration are expected to be announced next week. Shapiro will be sworn in on January 17th. Well, coming up, we have more on the first winter storm here in Western New York. Our chief weather forecaster, Dakota Hunter's extended forecast is next. Stay with us as WNY News Now returns.
When severe weather breaks, one team has you covered, tracking the storms as they happen. Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now. WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
There are 2 silver linings here. One, that no injuries were reported, and 2, they were able to contain the fire from spreading further.
Western New York has a new congressional member representing them.
One of the things that made Betty White so unique was the fact that she connected generations of fans throughout the decades. Take a look at the display here.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
Move over.
When you see signs,
lights,
vests,
please give us some room.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over. When you need help,
it's our job
to help you.
To save you.
Despite the danger.
This danger.
danger is real.
Do your part.
Please.
Slow down. Slow down. And move over.
Move over.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
This is a First Defense weather alert.
Welcome back, everybody. I wanted to give you a live look at the Chautauqua Lake Association Skycam to start off with because, yeah, we've got that lake effect snow falling out there right now. And I wanted to do a little review about lake effect snow, how it forms, because we're now in the season. Can you tell? So it all starts with that warm Lake Erie water. Lake Erie is 52 degrees off the Buffalo Harbor. And so what happens is when we get a cold air mass crossing over those warm Lake Erie waters, we look at a 25-degree temperature difference from the surface of the water to 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere. And we certainly have that today. It's really cold up at the top layers of the atmosphere. That warm air from the lake rises, ultimately creates those lake effect clouds, and then the winds push those lake effect clouds inland where they ultimately drop their snow. And of course, with lake effect, it is local yokels. So that is the big difference between lake effect and a winter storm, is the fact that a winter storm is widespread. Lake effect is localized. We've got some of those lake effect snowflakes falling in downtown Jamestown right now. It looks like Christmas Day, doesn't it? It's nice downtown. 30 degrees right now, but it's breezy with a west wind of 17. We have a wind gust of 25 and the wind chill 18. Oh, man. It is just frigid out there. So once again, this lake effect snow warning is going to continue until 10 o'clock tonight for Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties. We have a winter weather advisory for Warren County that expires at 7 o'clock tonight. And I wanted to show you First Defense Doppler again, because as we mentioned at the top of the show, notice how there's two separate bands to the lake effect snow. That is a good indication that wind shear or dry air is starting to work into the lake effect snow and is tearing it apart. So we now have two separate bands coming across the region right now. So it's not one band anymore, it's two bands, but it should go back to one band. So here's the newest round of Future Scan. Notice it picks up on those two bands, but notice how it reorganizes again and it starts to push its way northward through tonight. So Buffalo's going to be getting really the brunt of it through the weekend. So here it is through Friday. Notice how the southern half of the southern tier really doesn't see much. The northern half going up towards Buffalo is really going to see the majority of this through the weekend. You can see the snow band's going to be jogging north and south. So it's not going to be stationary. It will be moving, and that will be the good news. That will not allow it to drop a whole lot of snow. But still, it does actually, let me go back to those snowfall totals here, because actually that's incorrect. So let's move on to that. Next 7 days, powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions. So you can see here that the snow goes mainly north. And speaking about Buffalo, some of the guidance does suggest over 40 inches of snow by the weekend. So that is going to, I mean, this is almost like Snowvember all over again back in 2014. But the difference here is the snow band is going to be moving. It's not going to be stationary. But for the southern tier, we dry out as we go into next weekend, Bronson, and it finally turns a little bit warmer as we head into mid next week.
Well, I'm happy to hear those are coming back. Now we'll get you with some headlines from around the nation. Hundreds of women are suing the state of New York. They say they were sexually assaulted while in custody at New York prisons. Some of the allegations go back to the 1980s. The women are suing under the Adult Survivors Act, which allows civil suits even after the statute of limitations has passed. The Adult Survivors Act takes effect next week on Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision said it had zero tolerance for sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and unauthorized relationships. The department said individuals who violate the rules is disciplined and, when there is evidence of a crime, reprimanded for criminal prosecution. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she'll address her future plans today. Some speculate she'll retire soon, since Republicans are projected to take control of the House. That doesn't mean Democrats are backing off their priorities, however. Amy Kiley reports they've got busy plans for the rest of the year.
affirmative, the motion is agreed to.
Democrats are projected to lose control of the House next year, and they're rushing to approve legislation before then. The Senate could vote on a bill protecting marriage equality as soon as this week. 12 Republicans helped it get past a procedural hurdle. That's enough to beat a filibuster.
This legislation just says that the status which is conveyed by one state has to be recognized by another. At the same time, this legislation provides important religious liberty protections.
Advocates want the House to pass the Senate version of the bill this year. That's before apparent incoming Speaker Kevin McCarthy takes control of the chamber's agenda. Some Democrats say they feel similar pressure to secure funding for Ukraine.
I feel very strongly that the Republican Party is overwhelmingly in support of defending Ukraine. Future Speaker McCarthy, if that comes to pass, will he bow to these small number of voices?
Two-party control of Congress has been known to cause gridlock, but bipartisanship is always possible.
I hope that they stand for their beliefs, but they continue to engage with Democrats when they think we can get something done that's good for the country.
We have got to keep this march toward a more perfect union.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
The Food and Drug Administration is working on a plan to fight bacterial illnesses caused by contaminated baby formula. The agency wants a bacterial infection called Chronobacter added to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's list of reportable diseases that would require doctors to notify public health officials of any cases they see. 4 infants who consumed powder formula from Abbott Nutrition last year developed Chronobacter infections and 2 died. That resulted in Abbott's production facility in Sturgis, Michigan being shut down, triggering a nationwide formula shortage. Right now, Minnesota is the only state that tracks this infection. The FDA is also thinking about creating a dedicated team of food inspectors focused on infant formula. Well, next, we actually have Justin back. And look at him, he's getting us a live look from Randolph, and we'll be able to see everything that is going on in rural Chautauqua County when we come back.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing. After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this. You will find something.
You will find something new.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Right here, baby. Look. Uma. ¿Cuántos años tienes?
No. Something more than a birthday is happening here. Once you can see it, you can help. The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
The issue for the agriculture community and some GOP lawmakers is the new financial burden.
The DA telling me he's received 30,000 files alone from New York State Police in the form of things like PDF files, Excel sheets, and video evidence.
Once those 4 graduate from the academy, it will leave the city of Jamestown with 60 firefighters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
Welcome back to WNY News Now, and we are joined today by Justin, who is out in Randolph right now. And as if you were here earlier in the show, you would have heard Justin had a minor spat this morning. And first of all, Justin, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. A little whoopsie, you know. I've been, all my life, right? We're born and raised Western New Yorkers, Bronson and I, and Dakota and Alyssa. So it's not like we don't know how to drive in the snow.
but no more than like 60 seconds from my house, I crashed into a tractor trailer. Luckily, no injuries, and all is well with everybody, but certainly there was a little bit of, I don't want to say a little bit, a good amount of front end damage. So we'll get that repaired. We'll get back on the road. We'll get back to reporting you. So today, though, I'm bringing you this snow globe of a picture. This is one of the things I really like about Western New York, Bronson, is it is beautiful, albeit sometimes kind of a pain to deal with. Right now in Randolph, we're about 8 inches of snow I just measured here at Whedon Park. Some of that may have been piling up because of the wind, but nevertheless, it's coming down. So if you can't find a warm place to be today, for sure. We'll send it back to you, Bronson.
Justin. Well, hope all goes well for you, and maybe you can stay warm today instead of out in the snow like that.
I'm going to try. I'm going to play for just a little longer.
Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Make sure to catch us tomorrow when WNY News Now returns.